I've been trying to get internet at my house since I moved here. It's been years and years, and I have used all the resources I can.
And we've wasted billions of dollars, and we've wasted time.
The pandemic has really shown that broadband is just like electricity and just like water. You really need it these days to survive.
As the school year begins, COVID-19 has again highlighted a digital divide. Millions of Americans in rural areas nationwide are struggling to connect to the internet. So why is the country's broadband infrastructure still not reliably connecting rural communities? The recent bankruptcy of one of the largest rural internet providers, Frontier Communications, helps reveal why. It's unclear exactly how many people in America lack a high-speed internet connection. The official estimate from the Federal Communications Commission is 21 million people, but others estimate it to be double that. A recent study by Microsoft says if you include people who have a connection that's slow or unreliable, the figure is more like 157 million people, or roughly half of the US population. Eva Melanson and her husband and 3 kids have tried all they can to get internet access in Sissonville, West Virginia. Though Frontier is one of the only providers in the area, it's not even an option for their house.
We had Wild Blue satellite. We had HughesNet satellite. Then we gave up on satellite because if it rained or snowed, it didn't work. We switched to the cell phone booster, and we've tried to get regular internet at the house, Suddenlink or Frontier. They won't come up to our house.
Most days, Eva drives 3 miles from her house to this mobile home that her sister-in-law Sarah rents that gets faster internet from Suddenlink, another West Virginia provider. Sarah's house gets Frontier, but it's too slow, and just up the hill, Eva's house gets neither Frontier nor Suddenlink. The state is a patchwork of complicated, unreliable options like these.
I've been coming since we all got sent home for COVID and the schools got shut down. It was like the end of March. So we've been coming here since then to kind of take advantage of what internet we can get here.
On top of her full-time job, Eva is helping teach her kids and neighbors' kids as they start the school year with online classes. While broadband internet has improved for many across the country, for people like Eva's family and neighbors, makeshift options like this mobile home have become the best solution. Many experts, including former FCC Chairman Tom Wheeler, say one problem is that the federal government doesn't treat broadband like a public utility. Instead, it's largely relied on the internet industry to regulate itself and provide service in select areas at a range of prices.
Dating back before the internet even existed, the FCC has had a program where it collects money from telephone users' bills and rededicates that money to make sure that rural areas are served. This is very similar to how the U.S. extended electricity to rural areas. The FCC has taken that money in the modern age and repurposed it to try to extend broadband to communities across the country. They've thrown a lot of money at this problem. There are a lot of parts of this country that still aren't getting help.
Frontier might not be a household name like AT&T or Comcast, but it's one of the largest internet providers in the country. And in rural areas in Minnesota or in West Virginia, like where Eva's family lives, they can be one of the only internet options. 5 years ago, Frontier was awarded over $1 billion from the Federal Communications Commission to expand their networks in rural areas. Earlier this year, the company told the FCC it was not meeting its target requirements in numerous states. Then, back in April at the start of the coronavirus pandemic, Frontier filed for bankruptcy.
What was interesting about that bankruptcy is they had to disclose a lot of information that we don't usually get.
Frontier's bankruptcy documents offer a window into why rural parts of the U.S., and particularly states like West Virginia, lag behind much of the developed world in providing reliable internet. SEC filings Frontier provided to bondholders show the company chronically underinvested in faster broadband infrastructure like fiber optics. Only 21% of Frontier's service area is served by fiber, after more than a decade of promised upgrades. In a statement, Frontier said, "The available speed depends on multiple variables, including, especially in rural areas, the distance that the customer's location is from our internet equipment." The documents also reveal why they weren't required to invest in upgrades. Across the country, more than 1.5 million homes have only one choice for internet access: Frontier. For another 11.3 million homes, there are only 2 options for high-speed internet service. The company describes this as a strong competitive position. Frontier says the company offers service in many of the most rural areas of the country, places that our competitors largely choose not to serve because these rural areas often have challenging terrain, are more sparsely populated, and are the most expensive to serve.
Whether you're Frontier or whether you're Verizon, Why would you be putting money into West Virginia when every dollar you put into West Virginia is going to return a lot less than dollars that you put into Pittsburgh or put into, a major urban area?
Eva's sister-in-law, Sarah, works from home and started renting the mobile home for $600 a month after struggling for years with slow internet speeds from Frontier at her house.
This is the Frontier Internet, and we're going to do a speed test.
It's the only option she has at home, and she still pays $130 for both phone and internet services, despite her efforts to find an alternative.
I've filed FCC complaints. I've contacted the governor's office. I've called people. I've signed petitions. I've done everything that there has been to do something about improving it. I've participated in because I depend on the internet.
The FCC's chairman, Ajit Pai, says his number one priority has been closing the digital divide.
There's still many millions of Americans who don't have access at all or have insufficient competition. We want to change that to make sure that every American has what I call digital opportunity.
The agency has handed out billions of dollars in funding and subsidies to improve rural broadband access, with another $16 billion slated to be auctioned in October.
The data that the U.S. has about broadband networks isn't really great, and the government doesn't have a good idea where broadband is and where it isn't. So if a rural carrier builds broadband across a certain county, it can get credit for serving that entire area when in fact it only serves parts of the area. And this ends up serving some homes while leaving others behind.
The FCC says it's fixing the maps, but Chairman Pai says the funding can't wait.
We see states that are still making policy based on what the cable and telephone companies, the big cable and telephone companies, tell them. But we electrified the country by recognizing that those business models did not work for all of America. And West Virginia is one of those places where those models really don't work.
The kids go to school online, and there are just so many different things you can experience online that they don't have the ability to do right now. And it's a shame. I am very lucky that I can rent this place, but that's not a common occurrence, and I don't think that you should be forced to do that when you have a perfectly good home. Why can't we get broadband?